Many SUVs, a track, a runway, a quarry, a shopping center and a dog. Let the testing begin. Where does a crossover end and an SUV or an off-roader begin? Damned if we know. What we do know is that SUV has become the adopted label for a rash of high-riding, ruggedist cars that span mildly jacked-up super minis to 7-seaters capable of fording the Amazon. This presents a problem. So, to find the very best of this diverse bunch, we need stern rules and a multifaceted test that levels the playing field. There could be only one car from any one maker, and each of our 8 contenders had to be our current favorite from a distinct category. That gives us, in no particular order, Land Rover Discovery, Muddy, Alfa Romeo Stelvio, Dynamic, Audi SQ7, Fast, Bentley Bentayga, Luxury, Skoda Kodiaq, Family, Jaguar F-Pace, Stylish, Dacia Duster, Bargain, and Peugeot 3008, Sensible. The test itself has been carefully crafted to make it possible for a Dacia to compete with a Bentley, and a Peugeot to look an Audi square in the eye. For example, what excels in our off-road test will surely stumble in the drag race, and whatever is the most practical can't also. Speed around at track points towards grip, something you'll appreciate on a wet Tuesday when you're late to pick the kids up, predictable steering, a punchy engine in tune with its gearbox and brakes you can rely on when some dozy twit more interested in WhatsApp than the road pulls out in front of you. Oh, and beasting cars that weren't necessarily designed for such a thing is an inordinate amount of fun. Let's start with the Dacia Duster, which comes out fighting with the most hypo engine at its disposal and 4-wheel drive. Unfortunately, this is a 1.2-liter turbo producing just 123 bhp, but at UPS the sporting ante with a 6-speed manual. Porsche 911R, eat your heart out. Turns out there's not a bad chassis under there, just not enough power for it to shine. Stig wrings the Duster dry, but still posts the slowest time of the day. Would you be surprised if I told you that the Skoda Kodiaq is a dynamic revelation? Good, because it isn't, it's as sensible as its sensible pants styling suggests. Issues include a DSG gearbox that, without paddles behind the wheel, is irritatingly slow to react to prods of the gear lever in manual mode, a chassis where the Duster is merely underpowered, and the Kodiaq is unable to keep its mass in check, the front-wheel drive Peugeot 3008 is just a big, fat killjoy. The 129 bhp 3-cylinder turbo engine is actually rather perky, but its best efforts to bring some sparkle to proceedings are crushed by the over-intrusive safety systems that shut you down just as things start to get interesting. A quicker lap time than the Duster and Kodiaq, but a moral victory for the Dacia at the Ha/Sauber end of the grid. If there's one car that isn't remotely interested in such childish pursuits, it's the Discovery. The equivalent of a porky Saint Bernard digging its paws in to avoid being dragged off to doggy Weight Watchers, it does everything to avoid its stick-based workout, including setting fire to its own brakes after a single lap. To be fair, it's a whale out of water, listing alarmingly in quick corners, understeering heroically at any opportunity and refusing to hang onto your chosen gear at high revs, even in manual and sport mode. Sorry, Disco, you'll have your moment in a few moments' time. And then the Stelvio trundles up to the line and proves that it is possible for. The F-Pace was quicker thanks to its 2-cylinder and 8.9 bhp advantage, but didn't feel as at home on the track as the Alfa. There are flickers of finesse, a satisfying RWD feel past the apex, and you can tighten your line with a well-timed lift, but its brakes were toast after 2 laps. Speaking of finesse, the Bentayga diesel is about as subtle as Boris Johnson, but bullies its way around the track to devastating effect. Front and center is the engine, a 429 bhp, 4.0-liter V8 turbo diesel, but even that sort of brute force can't disguise that it, too, wasn't built for this sort of undignified punishment. Whereas the Audi SQ7, a car with the same triple-charged diesel engine as the Bentayga, with an electrically driven compressor that builds boost before the main turbos fill their lungs, soaks it up and begs for more. In places where the Bentayga understeers, the Audi stays locked to the road and feels faster everywhere. A 176 kilograms weight advantage tends to do that. The steering, brakes, throttle, everything is on espresso-fueled alert, and the way the 4.8V active roll control keeps such a lump so flat in the corners is beyond comprehension. It's Audi SQ7, 10. Bentley Bentayga, 9. Jaguar F-Pace, 8. Alfa Romeo Stelvio, 7+1. Land Rover Discovery, 6. Peugeot 3008, 5. Skoda Kodiaq, 4. Dacia Duster, 3. Test 2, Speed. Yet more inappropriate behavior, yet more important lessons to be learned. Don't forget, people, speed isn't just the preserve of racing drivers or testosterone-filled youths, it can be a useful tool for building and maintaining an appropriate velocity when joining a motorway from a slip road, or making smooth progress up a steep incline. Or, who am I kidding, if you had the chance to drag race 8 SUVs, you just would, wouldn't you? At the head of the field, it's little surprise to see the Audi and Bentley, in that order, streaking away with it. In this test, horsepower is king, but what Bentley was thinking, claiming a quicker 0 to 62 miles per hour than the lighter Audi, we're not sure. At the embarrassing end of the field, the Duster, expertly driven by yours truly, and the 3008 are left to chew on the gravel flicked up by everyone else's tires. In defense of the 3008 and Duster, they are the only 2 manuals in the lineup and therefore that much harder to launch. Not sure even the Stig could have improved their positions, though. Scrapping it out for third place are the F-Pace and Stelvio, a battle the Jag rightfully wins, but only by half a second, a result for Alfa to be proud of. Same goes for the Kodiaq that outdrags the 3008, despite being slower than the Peugeot around the track. This confirms what we all suspected, the Kodiaq is truly woeful when asked to corner at speed. But the biggest surprise of the day comes from the recalcitrant Discovery. Clearly still sulking about being forced to spend a day on a racetrack its slowest off the line, even to the Duster, huffs and puffs its way through the first 100 meters, then, once sufficient momentum has been gathered, puts in a burst of speed that leaves the Kodiaq, 3008 and Duster trailing in its not insignificant wake. She's a big girl. Just think, in a couple of years from now a remake of this all-SUV dash could include a V8 engined Lamborghini Urus, several face-bending Porsches, a Rolls-Royce, an F-Pace SVR and a 500 bhp plus Alfa. There should be an all-new Dacia Duster by then too. Bagsy the Duster. Audi SQ7, 10. Bentley Bentayga, 9. Jaguar F-Pace, 8. Alfa Romeo Stelvio, 7. Land Rover Discovery, 6. Skoda Kodiaq, 5. Peugeot 3008, 4. Dacia Duster, 3. Test 3, Interiors. For sheer interior shock and awe, it's the Peugeot, actually. The 3008 has a brilliantly brave cockpit, German in its material choice but brandishing enough French idiosyncrasy to feel more interesting than anything from across the border. If you're going to have virtual dials, why not have about 11 different styles? If you're reinventing the driving position as we know it, and no, it won't suit the taller drivers among you, sorry, why not make a flat top/bottom steering wheel that's part LaFerrari, part superstar destroyer? The Peugeot's cabin makes the brutally ergonomic, play-it-straight Kodiaq feel a little undercooked, and tinny to the touch, and embarrasses the F-Pace for imagination and sheer crispness of design. The Jag feels 10 years behind what the 3008 throws in your face, it simply borrows an XE cabin. To be fair, the Stelvio is indistinguishable from a Giulia inside, but that's littered with just enough delectable details, those, optional, paddles, the oh-so-correct steering wheel with Ferrari spec starter button, the thinly padded yet oddly comfy chairs. It's all sports saloon spec. Obviously the Audi and the Bentley feel similar inside, they share a platform and electronic architecture. Their controls move with the same millimetric precision, and Audi SQ7, 10. Peugeot 3008, 9. Bentley Bentayga, 8. Land Rover Discovery, 7. Skoda Kodiaq, 6. Alfa Romeo Stelvio, 5. Jaguar F-Pace, 4. Dacia Duster, 3. Test 4, Desirability. Of course folks midway through their early evening shopping were drawn to the Bentley. You'd double take if you found a gold bar in your sock drawer too. But showcasing our contenders in Leicester did reveal some interesting trends. After beelining for the Bentley Bentayga, at least 5 folks admitted that in the real world they'd genuinely be considering a Kodiaq. Every single person who wandered around the Discovery mistook it for a Range Rover at first. Women tended to prefer the Alfa, and men were more taken with the Audi and Jag. Despite its willfully edgy styling and 22nd century cabin, not a soul gave the Peugeot more than a derisory shrug at the batch. And the car that most Midlanders recognized without being prompted? The Dacia, funnily enough. Bentley Bentayga, 10. Skoda Kodiaq, 9. Alfa Romeo Stelvio, 8. Land Rover Discovery, 7. Audi SQ7, 6. Jaguar F-Pace, 5. Dacia Duster, 4. Peugeot 3008, 3. Test 5, Sound. A decibel detector, a stretch of runway. Cruise control at 70 miles per hour, 6 MUSIC muted. Bentley making the quietest SUV is no surprise, but the Jag, on 22s, and outshining the Audi, is, and who'd have thought a £25,000 Skoda is quieter than a £75,000 LR. Bentley Bentayga, 10. Jaguar F-Pace, 9. Audi SQ7, 8. Skoda Kodiaq, 7. Land Rover Discovery, 6. Alfa Romeo Stelvio, 5. Peugeot 3008, 4. Dacia Duster, 3. Test 6, Cost. Sure, incinerating tires and bog waiting are more fun, but it's back to reality folks, costs are equally, if not more, important. Boo. We calculated the 3-year running costs for each competition assuming 10,000 miles a year and taking into account depreciation, fuel, and road tax. Dacia Duster, 11,513 pounds. Peugeot 3008, 14,933 pounds. Skoda Kodiaq, 17,073 pounds. Alfa Romeo Stelvio, 20,960 pounds. Jaguar F-Pace, 26,080 pounds. Land Rover Discovery, 529,534 pounds. Audi SQ7, 431,291 pounds. Bentley Bentayga, 361,273 pounds. Test 7, Off-road. So, you're absolutely right. Hardly anyone who buys a Jaguar F-Pace, let alone one that tiptoes around on two 2IN wheels, 22s, will subject it to trial by quarry. We've done it now, so they won't have to. And predictably, the Jag was outclassed in the rough. The ride, which it struggles to reconcile with British roads anyway, bounced occupants clean out of the seat, and, like the Alfa, its rear drive until you slip setup isn't really optimized for bushwhacking. Fearful of splintering the low-profile bumper and tires on underwater obstacles, or a sharp-edged twig, these unashamedly road-biased SUVs were subjected to the least harsh off-road treatment. These are jacked-up sports saloons, with only a hill descent mode between them as a sop to their go-anywhere marketing potential. The Peugeot and Skoda are both FWD. You can spec 4x4 on a Kodiaq, but this version, with 148 bhp and DSG box, will be the top seller. It's got greater approach and departure angles than the 3008, so it was happier off-road, but in fairness, once the Pug actually got some traction, its relative lack of mass and manual box helped it haul itself up steeper slopes than the Jag, Alfa, and Skoda. Maybe a micron of Dakar. Although the Audi and Bentley share their oily bits, interestingly, it's the Bentayga that's happier to remind you it's a mud plugger inside. Where the Audi hides its solitary off-road setting deep within the bowels of the Drive Select menu, the Bentayga's mode dial, that elegantly encircles the starter button, has symbols for ice and snow, mud ruts, a desert, and beyond. Mud ruts duly selected, with the body imperceptibly gaining altitude and the drivetrain optimized, it romped around off-road with more decorum than the Audi, which would get to the same angles if allowed more of a run-up and a dollop less mechanical sympathy. It's worth mentioning all the cars wore their standard tires that had all been subject to a thorough stigging 24 hours earlier. Amazing, really, that on tires that'll carry its 2.5-ton form north of 155 miles per hour, the Bentayga will happily blad around a filthy mud bath, transmitting so few ricochets and grumbles into its placid, serene cabin that you're overcome with a slightly dangerous sense of invincibility. seems weird to subject a Bentley to this sort of treatment. And odder still to feel guilty about sullying a Land Rover's paintwork. The rounded, professional-looking, slightly hoi polloi Discovery has acquired. Land Rover Discovery, 10. Bentley Bentayga, 9. Dacia Duster, 8. Audi SQ7, 7. Skoda Kodiaq, 6. Alfa Romeo Stelvio, 5. Peugeot 3008, 4. Jaguar F-Pace, 3. Or, you could have the Flying Huntsman 6x6. Yes, that's a wide-body, 6-wheel drive Land Rover Defender pickup with quilted bucket seats, coming at out of Bradford priced at £129,545. And that's for the 6-wheel conversion. Throw in the bills for a donor Defender, out of production now, don't forget, and associated upgrades, and it's £179,994, which makes the Bentley look like a bargain. Note the con musters 122 bhp. It's a long way from being the ultimate off-road toy, this. The rear axles have only a mite of articulation and the ride is so firm, you're only supposed to engage 6x6 mode away from hard surfaces, when traction is likely to be lost, and speed has to be kept below 40 mph. So a proper Defender will leave it for spares in the rough. The jiggling steering wheel will damn near shear your fingers clean off too. Still, it's half the price of a Mercedes G6 36X6, and will return equal Instagram hits in SW1. Which, you suspect, is the real purpose at work here. Test 8. Practicality. How do you measure a car's practicality? Boot space is an obvious metric, but rather one-dimensional. It's how the packaging uses that space, and how accessible it is to the owner, that really matters. Nobody knows this more than an underslept, overstressed family man in a hurry. An ability to flip-flop seats into the perfect load/people carrying configuration. And appropriately install/remove a child's car seat, all in world record time and one-handed because you have a screaming child in the other, is crucial. So there's our test right there. The rear seats will begin folded flat, doors closed. Against the clock and while gently cradling a stiglet in one arm, it's my job to raise them to their correct position and strap in a child's seat. Beside my impressive display of athleticism, notable performances include the show-off Discovery, for which you can raise all 7 seats via a phone app, switches in the boot, or a button on the central screen. The Stelvio, F-Pace, and Bentayga all excel through the simplicity of just flipping the seats up with your spare hand, while the Peugeot and Duster let themselves down by trapping the seat belt when you do the same. Dead last is the SQ7, which forces you to. Jaguar F-Pace, 10. Alfa Romeo Stelvio, 9. Dacia Duster, 8. Bentley Bentayga, 7. Land Rover Discovery, 6. Skoda Kodiaq, 5. Peugeot 3008, 4. Audi SQ7, 3+1. The winner, Bentley Bentayga. The numbers have spoken, we have a winner, and, if we're honest, it's a shock result. Not least because it's a car only a microscopic percentage of the population will actually be able to afford. Costs were taken into account, of course, but given that for one Bentayga diesel you can have 2 Audi SQ7s, 2.5 Jaguar F-Paces, 4 Alfa Romeo Stelvios, 2 Land Rover Discoveries, 5 Peugeot 3008s, 5 Skoda Kodiaqs or 9 Dacia Dusters, they probably should have had more weighting. You see, that's the problem with a verdict that takes opinion largely out of it, it throws up unusual results. Perhaps the spread of tests unfairly favored the fast and expensive stuff, perhaps we shouldn't be let loose with a calculator. Either way, when you look at what we'd choose to take home below, it's probably the wrong result. But in typically stubborn TG fashion, we're sticking with it. The key to the Bentley's success? It performed well in categories we didn't expect. Its looks are challenging at best, yet the fair folk of Leicester told us by a landslide that it was the one they would take home. And then, to our astonishment, when the going got muddy, it kicked off its Gucci loafers and got stuck in. The reality is that the Kodiaq and Disco both remain better family SUVs than the Bentayga, and the Alfa handles better. The Duster is remarkable for the money and the F-Pace is as rounded as ever. In fact, all our contenders were class leaders at the start of the test. And they still are, but it's the Bentley that takes the points victory. In hindsight, our points system probably needs an MOT.